Hello, and welcome to the forecast for June 2nd until June 8th. My name is Desiree DeLune, your acupuncturist, herbalist, and astrologer. This week, we're going to go over the energetic landscape, and let me tell you, it is a time of inner alchemy. We've got very rich and interesting aspect patterns that we don't see often. And there's just going to be a tremendous amount of inner reflection and depth and clarity and understanding. And yeah, this is a very highly self-aware season that we're stepping into this week. And I'm not saying it's a bad, difficult thing. Yeah, there might be some challenges here and there, but overall, it's going to be very regenerative and very clarifying. And also, we have another planetary move that is significant that all of us will feel is that Venus is moving into Taurus. We say Venus is ingressing into Taurus when it goes into a new sign, and that's its home sign. And that is a sweet placement. So I'm excited to dive into that for you. So let's go ahead and share the screen. Please do like, subscribe, share away for anyone who might benefit from this information. It really helps to support the channel. All right, let me make this a little larger for you. Okay, here we go. So we're going to begin with Monday. We are pretty much in the thick of it with the Gemini season. As you can tell, Sun is sitting here in Gemini, and this is a very airy, active, mentally stimulating sign. And Mercury is at its home in Gemini. And so Mercury loves being here. This just really enhances the sharpness of mind, of clarity, of thinking. Now, it is still technically combust, meaning because Mercury is so close to the sun, it's only 4 degrees away, it's under the beams of the sun. So sometimes what happens, it's like Mercury gets sunburned, gets burnt out. And that could express as being very mentally active, like the mind just won't calm down. Do you ever think so fast that you can't organize all of your thoughts, and it's hard to verbally get out everything that you are thinking? So that is going to be a common occurrence when we have Mercury combust. So one of the things we need to be cautious of is to slow down, write it all down, say it all as best as you can, but don't go blasting out to the public or blasting out to, your friends or your inner circle without really having some moments of review. So take your time. The way I like to treat this is kind of like a Mercury retrograde when Mercury is combust. I mean, thankfully it's in its home sign, so that does provide some level of support and strength, but just review a little bit before you start, talking away and sharing your ideas or asking your questions, etc. Now, Jupiter is also here. Jupiter is not it's about 12 degrees away. So it's going to start getting closer throughout the week. And that's going to be really nice. As Mercury gets closer to Jupiter, there's a lot more like positivity. There's just a lot more visionary thinking and hopefulness and faith. And it's unicorns and rainbows. It's like, wow, everything is really possible. So I also love the amount of expansion in thinking too that Jupiter adds to Mercury. And really, it's a way of creative problem solving because you're starting to see things from a larger, like bird's eye view perspective versus when you're so granular, you might not see the whole thing. And then hence it's a little bit more challenging to map out a grander plan or a grander vision. So I feel Jupiter here is very, very supportive to Mercury in that sense. Okay, now let's talk about some other things. We do have Moon in Virgo, and Moon in Virgo, this is a more grounded space too. It's also analytical. It's ruled by Mercury. That's Mercury rules Virgo. So this is going to make us desire to be more organized, to be more strategic, to be very practical, and to be very grounded as well. There is going to be a need to just like tidy things up and really take care of responsibilities. Virgo is a very, very responsible sign. So The one thing we just need to be careful of, because like I said, Mercury is under the beams of the sun, this overactive planning and criticizing and judging and overthinking and second guessing, like that might happen quite a bit here. So yeah, that's the only thing I'd really want you to take care of for today. Now, Venus is also in sextile to Jupiter, love. So Venus is in Aries. It's in its last degrees of Aries because remember, it's going to be transitioning this week over into Taurus, which is a very perfect ideal home sign for Venus. And Jupiter is right now talking to it. So that's really nice because it brings a lot of like lightheartedness and desire for pleasure and fun and really attending to that too. So I like the playfulness that we get with the Jupiter and Venus in sextile. So it'll help you to say yes to more experiences that are uplifting, that are just more joyful and more expansive. So leaning into our pleasures is just going to be a little bit easier with this. And yeah, and in a way, like it overcomes some of this moon in Virgo situation because moon does have a slight square. It's not very strong, but a slight square to the sun. And when we see that slight square, we'll probably see it more on Tuesday. Then sometimes we have inner conflict between like responsibilities and what we need for emotional comfort and safety and happiness. All right, so we have Saturn, Neptune is pretty close to each other. And a lot of the stuff I'm talking about Monday, by the way, does extend out to the week. And Saturn, Neptune, this conjunction is going to be around for a while. So there is a delicate balance here that's happening with our new intentions. You know, last forecast we talked about in Saturn in Aries is like starting of a whole new 30-year cycle, right? And with Neptune being there, it's it's encouraging us to be very like dreamy and go for the stars. Okay, go for the moon and the stars, like really be very imaginative, be very creative, and see beyond just what's realistic and practical too. But then Saturn is that realistic practical sign, so you have these opposing energies that are right next to each other. And in some sense, it's kind of like checks and balances, because one of the things that Neptune, the pitfall with Neptune, is that it's so ethereal, it's so fantastical and kind of in dreamland that it's not grounded in reality. And Saturn provides that grounding, provides that making the dreams material essentially. So I like the term like discipline dreaming and putting those dreams into action. So and plus Aries is that initiatory energy where we are like getting something going, get it launched, get it started off the ground as well. So in that sense, I feel that they can be very helpful to one another. Okay, but that's going to be around like forever, a really long time, because these planets, especially Neptune, stays in a sign for 14 years, and Saturn's going to be in Aries for the next 3 years. So it's going to hang around for some months in terms of their conjunction being super close together. Now, let's talk about Saturn that has these sextiles. I love this. Love this. We've got Uranus and Neptune. Okay, it's actually a mini grand trine. So you love learning about astrology and cosmic energies. But what about your personal natal chart? Are you confused by it? Would you like more than just general guidance? If you are ready to understand your planets, your signs, your houses, and aspects, then you're in the right place, because I am about to teach a new course called Language of the Stars. This is my 6-week foundational astrology course. You are going to go from being confused, maybe even overwhelmed by all of the information, to speaking fluently in this cosmic language. How great is it going to be able to read your own cosmic blueprint with confidence? In this course, we are going to give you knowledge that is step by step, that is layered so that we tie it all together and you are looking at your chart and understanding what the heck is going on. Plus, you are going to get lifetime access to all of the materials, the PDFs, the recordings, so that you can revisit and relearn, rewatch again and again until you fully understand what's happening. It took me years to understand this language. It is so easy to get lost in all the jargon. And after a while, I started to get it. And I'm kind of a slow learner. It literally took me a few years for it to finally click. But once it clicked, the whole world just opened up to me. And I had access to this language that gave words to a lot of the sensations and experiences that I feel as an empath. And that's why I designed Language of the Stars, to make it easy for you to understand. Shave down years of frustration and agony trying to understand what is happening. That's something I'm great at, is teaching things in a very digestible way and layering it so that it is making sense to you quite quickly. Please don't go through what I went through. The hair pulling, irritation that I went through to get this language. If you often find yourself trying to learn, but really don't know where to begin and how to put it all together, then that's what I'm here for. That is something that I am pretty good at, is teaching very complex things in a simple, digestible manner and making it very practical. You're going to be learning the basics, and we're going to build this information step by step. So you will go from being utterly confused to very clear and confident. You'll understand forecasts. When someone gives you a forecast for the week, for the month, for the year, you'll be able to follow along. You'll know what they're talking about. We are going to build your astrology skills systematically, and you're going to walk away feeling comfortable having these types of conversations. And when you are learning in the future more about astrology, you'll be able to follow along some of the more challenging concepts. Come join me for Language of the Stars, your foundational course, and build that fluency. There's a link down below. I look forward to being with you and teaching you and serving you and guiding you along this path of cosmic understanding. And you'll see that Uranus and Saturn have a sextile, and Pluto and Saturn have a sextile, but then Uranus and Pluto have a trine. So these are all blue lines. They're very harmonious. They're very supportive. And so here we're experiencing this breakthrough, liberation, breakthrough, evolution, change, transformation, and really materializing it and integrating it and having a structure for this. I love that the changes that we're going through are real and permanent. Like a butterfly doesn't go back to a caterpillar, right? So these are some permanent, like up-leveling changes that we're going through. And Saturn, it's like one of the most grounding planets. It just grounds that in. So very beautiful configuration of that. And the last thing I want to mention here is Chiron. So Chiron, it's going to get stronger and stronger throughout the week, is that it has a conversation with Mars. It is in trine. There's a blue line between Chiron. I don't talk about Chiron too much, but I'm going to bring it into the mix for this week. But Chiron is that green colored one that kind of looks like a K or a key, actually. And this represents our deepest spiritual woundings, our deepest emotional woundings. They're kind of like wounds that you never really heal, but they're always there, but you get better in your relationship with those wounds. You know how to work with it. And these are the wounds that we not only support ourselves in our lifetime here, but also something we can support others in as we master how to work with those wounds, essentially. So, what I love about this is that Mars rules Aries. So, Chiron is well supported because the landlord is present and engaged and talking, okay, with Chiron and Aries. And then with this configuration, this tells me that there is proactivity. We are taking action and putting forth the energy and the effort to attend to soothe, to nurture, to help to work with these wounds. And so it's not, it's going to be difficult to ignore, is what I'm saying. It's going to be difficult to avoid or hide or ignore. It's attending to these wounds, put on the ointment, put on the dressing, like making sure that it's safe and covered and protected, for example. So I really, really enjoy and appreciate like how we are all growing up. We're all growing up, we're all maturing, and we're all having this desire and this need to address our wounds now. And, maybe there's certain practices or techniques or tools that you utilize to soothe those wounds that you have. Okay. So, all right, that's Monday. Now, Tuesday. Wait out for Wednesday. Wednesday is quite an interesting day. Tuesday, we still have Moon in Virgo. It is in square with Mercury. So you see this red line. It's exact square. See, Moon is 18 degrees and then Mercury is 18 degrees, so that's 90 degrees apart, actually, and that's what makes a square. And this is some conflict and tension in our feelings and our thinking. So sometimes it gets a little bit difficult to express ourselves and to verbally articulate what we are internally going through, whether it's our emotions or even our thoughts. So again, just like if there's second guessing happening, just slow down. That whole method of slowing down your thoughts. And one way that I love to slow down my thoughts is just write it all out, whether it's on my computer or it's on a piece of paper. Like that really, really helps to expel it so that I have a bit more capacity. I mean, just think when you write, you're releasing. When you write, you release. So then you kind of release all of the buildup tension that is there, and then you allow for more flow and you allow for more circulation. Now, Mars is in square with Uranus. Now, that is a pretty volatile configuration. It's going to get a little bit stronger as the days pass, but this is intense high energy. Okay, this is volatility. This is going to get stronger and stronger, and it's going to stay around until June 24th. And this is the classic act first, think later. So here's another indicator that is causing us to just move and do things. And so the impulsivity, the recklessness, the chaos is something we have to be cautious of. In some ways, I love it, okay? Because I'm not anti-squares. They're in oppositions. They are there. They serve a purpose. But it does have that igniting type of force and energy. So you can lean on this when you are feeling a little bit sluggish in a particular area of your life that you really wish you had more energy for. So I can see a more activation of our individual physical energy and capacity and strength and all of that. So you can use it constructively. It's kind of like when you want to start a fire in the fireplace, right? You're going to start with some smaller pieces of sticks, etc., paper, whatever, and then think of Mars Uranus as the initial igniting of the fire. Okay, the initial igniting of the fireplace, and then it continues on. All right. So overall, just be curious, let your mind free, go do what you want to do. That's all good. But also at the same time, be conscientious of your pace. That's all. Just be conscientious of your pace. And I do recommend reevaluation and just review. Maybe you can talk with somebody to go over, hey, how does this idea sound? I'm thinking about starting this project. I really want to. And talk to a few people to get some feedback. And then from there, you'll be able to make a better informed decision about all of this extra like desire and ambition that may be igniting within you. All right, so let's go to Wednesday. Wednesday, there's so much happening. I mean, there's like a kite pattern happening. Okay. We got some oppositions. We have some mini grand trines. We have a couple of mini grand trines. We have a grand trine. I mean, it's intense. It's in it. And I like it. Okay. I like it. I like intensity. So, however, I think one of our saving grace is the fact that Moon is in Libra. If you take a look, like Moon has transitioned from Virgo to Libra. Because that's the thing with Moon in Virgo for the last couple of days, is a very mentally active placement too. Whereas Moon in Libra is chill. It's chill. It likes peace. It likes harmony. It likes beauty. It likes pleasures. It likes symmetry. Like it's a really, it's still an air sign. It likes conversations, but it likes calm, cool, chill conversations. It likes it relaxed. It enjoys to relax. It likes to relax and have some pleasures. Okay, so it's nice, and I think that that's a great placement for everything that the moon is going through. Because if Moon was sitting in Scorpio while all this was happening, I'd probably not be as thrilled about it. But yeah, and this will give you some emotional strength too, and adaptability. That's the thing with Libra. It's very, very flexible. Libra knows how to connect to a variety of groups of people in a variety of situations. It has this flexibility and has this adaptability to it. So I like that Moon has that feature here. Can you see all of this coming down to the moon? There's a lot happening with the moon. This is a day filled with feels, all right? And contradictory feelings too at that too. But there is also so much growth, personal, internal growth, emotional maturity is happening here. And that's how I see Wednesday. Now, whether you want to keep yourself busy Wednesday or not, that's up to you. But I mean, I just want to set that expectation that this is going to be a dynamic and rich day, internally speaking. So let's begin with Moon square Jupiter. So Moon square Jupiter, this one can cause us to overextend ourselves. Jupiter expands things. So that's the one thing I would be careful of, is not making too many promises. Or even sometimes with Moon square Jupiter, we get really, really like grand ideas and vision, and then we feel like we have all this energy for it, we have all these high expectations for it, and then when this aspect leaves, we're like, I don't think I could do that. Where, when you like overpromise or have this idea, I've done this with my team sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I do this and I provide this every single week? And, and it's because there's this Moon square Jupiter happening, and it at that moment, at that day, feels like a phenomenal idea. And oh yeah, that makes so much sense to do that. And I'm like, I can do it. And then the next day rolls around, I can't do it. I just can't do it. So there's like a real-time example of like a Moon square Jupiter moment. Okay, so we just need to practice moderation, even slow down in your expectations. That will be really helpful to you so that you're not, disappointing yourself in the end. We do have Moon opposite Saturn. Now, this can bring some heaviness. This can bring some self-doubt. This can bring some loneliness, just wanting to like isolate yourself too. But then another aspect of it is it can bring a lot of maturity and just, all right, I just need to like take care of things. I need to take care of my responsibilities, even though I may not feel like it because Moon's in Libra. Now, Moon is also in trine with Uranus. And it's also in trine with Pluto. As you can tell, it's actually a whole grand trine. You see this big triangle, and we have 3 degrees Pluto, 28 Uranus, and 0 degrees Moon. Now, this all together tells me that you're going to feel at the same time, even with Saturn opposing it, right? There's like a liberation happening inside of you, and there is a transformation happening inside of you, and you're welcoming it all. And this isn't creating chaos. Like something new is emerging from you, and you're feeling free. You're feeling powerful. You're feeling quite independent. as well. And here, like, you really can stand on your own here. So I love the configuration where you are you're understanding your inner power, your sovereignty. You are owning who you are and this new version of you that has been emerging all throughout this year. I think of it kind of this year as kind of like a slow cooker. And every hour that passes, whatever's in there, just the flavor just gets deeper and richer with each passing hour. And like the meat just gets softer and just more delightful with each passing hour. So think of this whole year as that is this transformation that's happening within you, within me, within all of us. It's a slow cooker type of thing, and it's just getting reiterated over and over and over again as we experience these types of patterns throughout the weeks and throughout the months throughout this year. We also have I talked about this earlier, but it's part of this whole kite pattern. Is there's that mini grand trine here between Pluto, Saturn, and Uranus. So this is really grounding in and embodying this new emergence of you. And yeah, so wonderful. Okay. And then the other pattern we've got is between Mars and Venus and Jupiter here, where there is another mini grand trine where they're in conversation. So our desires and our ambitions, like, we have energy for it now. We have drive and strength and power and motivation. And we are really holding on to the greater outcomes, the greater possibilities. I've said this a few times, but wow, I really see a possibility of this becoming better, like our lives becoming better. I know that there's plenty of doom and gloom out there. I understand that. But equally at the same time, like, we're able to emotionally hold space too and dream again and have hope again and have belief again. And, with all this grounding energy that I've been talking about, like with Saturn, we're putting things into motion. We're physically attending to these visions. We're not just having them and it's not reflecting in our physical lives at all. Even if it's slow, that's fine. Even if it's little by little. But the fact is that we are little by little materializing these visions that we have for ourselves. And there is excitement here. There is passion. There's enthusiasm. There's excitement. There's drive for this new evolution of ourselves. We're looking forward to it, and we're ready to do the work that's necessary to get there. There's a lot more emotional maturity and wisdom about, how long it's going to take. This is the days of immediate gratification, which we're all used to it with our, one click buys and it comes in 2 hours. I understand that. But we're also going to start to have an appreciation for slow. Have you been desiring to do things more slowly, like slower living, not being so consumed into the digital space, into the digital world as well? Like, are you wanting a bit more quiet and a bit more peace? Are you wanting a little bit more humanity versus just like a robotic experience? So understand that, we're seeing the importance of this gradual and sustained effort. We're seeing how critical it is to yield the fruits that we are looking for in our lives. So, yeah, even though there's a lot of young energy in the air and in the sky, at the same time, we also understand the earthy, very like slower pace, sustained effort keeps talking to us. Like, this energy is important and they work together. I know they seem opposing and contradictory, but hey, that's life. That's yin and yang. We live in a dual universe, and both of them are important. Both of them serve their purposes and have their places. And it's about knowing how to shift from one to the other. Okay. So let's see, anything else? Yeah, so very, very transformative, very rich. That's what I'm saying. Like all this stuff is happening internally, inside of you. All of this, like evaluation and liberation and excitement and, and physical activity and movement. You may have some more physical energy with all of this yang. I mean, as you can just tell, look, we have lots of fire sign activity. Look at that. All this in fire. Okay. We have Mars in a fire. And then air. Fire and air are yang. So we've got Pluto in an air. We've got these three planets in an air. I mean, the only planet at the moment we have in an earth sign is Uranus. And this on July 7th is going into air, is going into Gemini. So as you can tell, there is a lot of quick movements that are happening. And that's why I say, just make sure to also slow down and just make sure to reevaluate things before you, make announcements, before you go out there and make proclamations. Okay, so let's continue on to Thursday. Moon is in trine with Sun, always welcomed and appreciated. This is going to provide a lot of just personal flow, things just falling into place, things being a bit more easeful. I love Moon trine Sun. Very nice. The Sun and Mercury, it's getting better in terms of, it no longer being combust. I mean, technically you could say it's still combust, but it's some people say 7 degrees, some people say 8 degrees. It just depends on the practitioner. But this should start calming that intense like mental restlessness if that's something you've been dealing with. And sometimes that affects our ability to fall asleep at night too, just because Mercury is combust. And Mercury is a lot closer to Jupiter. It's only 7 degrees away. So just that whole wow, thinking more positively is really nice. So not that like Debbie Downer type of attitude. You're going to see how great things can become and looking forward to things rather than dreading the future. All right. Another thing is Mercury is in sextile with Mars. Well, there's actually, like a little mini grand trine here between Mars, Mercury, and Venus. I love that because this is going to make our thinking very like ambitious. Between Mercury and Jupiter and Mercury sextile Mars, you're going to feel and think like, just so thrilled and so hopeful and so excited about what you are doing. Like it's a very activating configuration and you're going to feel like you can. That's the thing. It feels possible. That's what I love about this. That's what I want to say is it feels very possible to you and it feels harmonizing. It feels aligned with Venus talking to this. Like you're feeling so connected to your vision. You're feeling one with it. You're feeling one with your dreams and your ideas. Like your heart is so in it because that's the thing with all of these fire signs here talking to Mercury. We've got Aries and Leo. It's got to be authentic. It's got to be heart-centered. I mean, it's got to be unique and original to you. So that's another theme is our own uniqueness is really shining and wanting to shine in this era that we're about to enter into, not copycat versions of somebody else. You've got to really present yourself and show yourself in all your glory. And what's great is that, there's a desire to do so. There's a desire to do so. All right. So very nice, very pleasant. I think of this day as like a breath of fresh air, depending, contrast it to Wednesday. This is going to feel a little bit lighter and more joyful. Okay. So Friday. Friday's a big day because you have Venus that has ingressed into Taurus. And this is the natural home sign of Venus. It's super happy here. And Venus, this is about our pleasures. This is about our play. It's about relationships and love and connection and beauty and the arts. And in Taurus, all of that is just going to be enhanced. You're going to want more and more of that. It's also a very stabilizing place. It's a harmonizing place. It's unifying. It's very grounding. So with all that yang activity we've been having throughout the week, you'll notice here, and also moon is still in Libra, which is very nice. Moon in Libra is very gentle too. Those two together, you're going to feel a bit more settled in. Not as much up here, but more so in your body. So, doing things that are pleasurable for the body are highly recommended, like going and getting a massage, for example, or, snuggling up to your partner, for example. So definitely support and nurture your body here. You're going to want it. You're going to crave it even more. And even like working with the earth, doing some gardening, for example, would be something that really, really supports Venus in Taurus. Now, let's talk about some of these other aspects. We have it in sextile. We have Venus in sextile with Jupiter. That is so nice. I mean, wow. That tells me that your personal play and pleasures are going to be of utmost priority. It's going to expand because Jupiter expands whatever that it touches. You'll probably feel more romantic. You'll probably feel more optimistic, and also a desire to connect with people even more so. So a lot of creativity, a lot of connection, a lot of play. I mean, this is like the fun side. This is the fun side of life here. Moon is also in trine with Mercury. Wow, I love that because that's going to help with expressing ourselves. It's going to improve our communication. I mean, it's not just logical that is being stimulated, the logical mind with Mercury in Gemini, but also our emotional intelligence too. And they're at one. Like you see this harmony between our thoughts and our feelings and being able to articulate all of that. It's just going to be nice. So it's actually a great day. And look, it's right next to Jupiter. Jupiter and Mercury both have a connection with writing. So if you love to write, this with the moon in Libra, yes, like I feel like you're going to write poetry on this day. So take some time to do some creative writing. That'll be a really great practice here. Okay, we do have moon also sextile Mars. That's really nice. That just adds more courage and drive and passion and enthusiasm and warmth, and also just, taking some risks. And these kinds of risks are good risks, by the way. There are times when risks are needed, and there are times when it can be catastrophic, right? But when we have these beautiful sextiles, like that's the timing of a good risk. That's the landscape of a good risk because it is very harmonized, it's aligned, it's emotionally aware, it's emotionally connected when this moon and Mars are talking in this way. Okay, so also a very delightful day. I love Friday. Let's take a look at Saturday. We have a vibe shift on Saturday. We've got moon that goes into Scorpio, which is in its fall sign. It's not the happiest there. It is not surfacey at all. It's a deep dive into the subconscious. It's the deep dive into the underbelly. It's a very sensitive placement. So we're gonna see heightened sensitivity with our emotions, with our feelings, with our even intuition. This actually is a very intuitive placement as well. So I see this being a bit more introspective of a time versus like what we were experiencing on Thursday and Friday. So Saturday, like we might be touching our wounds, for example. We might feel a bit more vulnerable and a little bit more raw at this time. Not only that, like we have this opposition to Venus, so this can cause some tension in relationships. And then we have a square to Pluto. I would say our saving grace is this little trine here that we got to Jupiter, but it's, it's not like a tight orb. But the square is pretty close. We got 5 degrees Moon and 3 degrees Pluto. This square sucks. That's all I'm going to say. So Pluto, I mean, is only just going to intensify the fears, the woundings, the vulnerabilities, just the uncomfortable feelings that's a lot. That's a lot. So I'm just going to say this is a raw, vulnerable time. It's a touchy, testy time, and you may have some conflicts and disagreements in relationships. I mean, you could have some really constructive, crucial, and hard conversations for sure. It's just not going to be pretty and it's not going to be fun. That's all. But if you're wanting to isolate yourself and just kind of want to be on your own, it makes complete sense for this day. Okay. Let's see. And then let's go on to Sunday. So Sunday, we have Moon still in Scorpio, and then we have Mercury that is sextile to Venus. That's nice. I like that. So that's going to improve our connection and our conversations with people, and it'll be good time to reflect, reconcile things, maybe things that happened on Saturday. We still have that Mars trine Chiron. Look at that. It's gotten really dark blue. So it's only a 1 degree orb. That's great. We've got 26 degrees Chiron, 25. So this is a lot of healing. I just feel like this is going to be a lot of healing of areas in your soul that maybe you haven't been able to touch. And it's Chiron in Aries talking to Mars is proactive. It's very proactive. So I love that. Really like initiating healing conversations, for example, would be another way that this could express as well. All right. But overall, with Moon in Scorpio, I would say that between Saturday and Sunday, this would be great to do more introspective shadow work. And that's why I called like this week, like the week of inner alchemy. Some days are going to be really fun. Some days are going to be very interesting this week. Some days might be gut wrenching, more towards, like Saturday might be a little bit more gut wrenching. But you are finding a deeper connection with yourself. And you are, most likely going to touch certain sensations that you haven't had access to before, or maybe you just weren't ready for yet. And there's a lot of readiness. There's a lot of readiness. There's a lot of maturity. There's a lot of willingness to like, okay, now I really want to work on this, and I'm here, and let's dive in. So this is a dive in kind of a week. Okay, very good. So I think, a lot of closure could happen. There could be a lot of closure that's happening here on Sunday, a lot of reflection. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you. Wow, what an interesting week. Thank goodness Venus is in Taurus. I do appreciate that little transition. And keep in mind that we have in July 7th is that big day. This is our final like outer planet crossing over into Gemini from Taurus. And here, like Uranus stays in a sign for 7 years. So that's massive. Remember, this is kind of like the final piece when Uranus crosses over, where we are entering into this whole new world. Now, look, for the next year, though, understand that many of these planets are going to dip back into the previous sign. Because Uranus will go back into Taurus for a little bit. Saturn will go back into Pisces. I think Pluto is done. Yeah, Pluto's done retrograding back into Capricorn, so it's officially there. And then Neptune, I believe, dips back into Pisces again too. So these two up here. So we're gonna have an experience of all of them being in their new signs as of July 7th. But understand that there's always a little retrograde, and some planets have to go in between two signs a couple of times before it officially goes all the way in and moves forward. So, all of this gets really complete in 2026. But we are going to get a good taste. We're going to get a good taste of what it will be like, from 2026 on. So, thank you so much. I enjoy giving you these forecasts, and please stay tuned for the next one. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell so that you're notified every time a new video is up each week. We will see you in the next forecast.